I will do a video about this. All right. So check this out, right? This is you. Monthly, every month, you take home 9 grand, right? Then you spend 5 grand, right? Percentage of cash flow to Bitcoin. Let's say we do 50%, right? So annual income, let's say your income goes up by 3% every year. Annual expense rate, you keep it at 1%. Let's say right now you have 1 Bitcoin, right? So we're going to look at the math. All right. We're going to look at the math. So check this out. I think I'll do a video on this. I'll do a video on this. I'll do a video on this. All right. So check this out. So check this out, right? So this is based on, I think, a 10-year period, right? So this is all in, right? This is somebody who is going all in. So essentially what I'm telling you, you make 9 grand and all the 9 grand, boom, goes into Biddy, right? Wait a second. Didn't I say I had 1 Bitcoin? Okay, wait, I lied. It didn't register. Got 1 Bitcoin. So you got 1 Bitcoin, right? You started with 1 Bitcoin. You're going all in, right? You started with 1. Okay. Look at the bread. Look at the bread, right? Folks don't understand this. In 10 years, is this 10 years? Hold on, let me check. Yeah, so in 10 years, right? In 10 years, if you, the person who said they making 9K, are you still on here? Raise your hand if you're still on here. The person whose numbers we are using. Raise your hand if you're still on here. Actually, this, I'm gonna make a video out of this. I'll make a video out of this. I'll make my first, I think my first YouTube video, legit YouTube video, will be about this. Okay, so look, let's say right now you own 1 Bitcoin, right? But moving forward, you decide that you're going to live on a Bitcoin standard, right? And you started with 1 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin grows at a 30% CAGR for the next 10 years, in 10 years, you will be worth, or you will have a liquid net worth of $5.6 million. This will be you. So basically, in 10 years, you would have borrowed, you will be in debt, $944,000, right? But majority of your income is purchasing Bitcoin, right? So by the time 10 years comes around and Bitcoin grows at a 30% CAGR, you would have started with one Bitcoin and you'll be ending at 7.04 Bitcoin, right? But you would have accumulated almost $1 million in debt. But because you've made so much, your Bitcoin value has gone up so much, you can pay off that loan if you wanted to, and now your net worth is $5.6 million net. You don't owe nothing, no liabilities, nothing, right? So that essentially means you raised your annual income from right now you're doing about 100K to $500,000 without a raise. You see that? Without a raise. You went from making 100K to 561,000 a year by going on the Bitcoin standard. Does that make sense? Type 21 if you picking up this game. Once this clicks, you will see that you will value your job for what it is, but you're not going to care whether they give you a raise or not, because Bitcoin gives you the raise, right? And this is if Bitcoin grows at a 30% CAGR. If Bitcoin happens to grow at a 40% CAGR, then in the same 10 years, you will be worth $10 million, right? $10 million. If you decide to not borrow and just use your, your cash flow and go direct, that is still not bad, right? Because you are still increasing your annual income by like 400K, right? So annually you will be making 400K. So I guess by like 300K. Versus if you go this route, your annual income is now $1 million without getting a raise. I don't think you guys understand it. I don't think you picking up what I'm putting down. This is the solution. And so when I tell you, if your folks are out there teaching you trading just to trade, they are part of the rat race, because you're not trading your way to $1 million a year. I can tell you that. Unless you have a business that is doing well, you are not going to make $1 million. Unless you have a community, a product, a service that is doing exceptionally well, you will not trade yourself. You are not making $400,000 or $500,000 trading unless you got some stupid income coming in, right? But what I'm talking about is possible for regular folks. You see that? For regular folks. All right, let's do this. Right? So here's the thing. It says based on your inputs, a take-home pay of $9K. This is you, $9,000 per month, right? And $5K in living expenses produces a net monthly cash flow of $4K. If you were to invest 100%, that means 100% of your cash flow is that $4K that is left after all your bills are paid, right? If you were to invest 100% of that cash flow into Bitcoin every month for 10 years, assuming 40% CAGR, you will end up with roughly 0.22 more Bitcoin than you started with. If, on the other hand, you were to start with 13.53 month Bitcoin collateral, right, and convert 100% of your monthly pay, monthly income, monthly home pay to BTC while borrowing the needed expenses monthly at a 10% APR, you would end up with roughly 4.8 more Bitcoin than you started with, while achieving a loan to value ratio of 30.56% in month 21 of the 10th year, right? So essentially, this is the highest maximum loan to value ratio you will ever hit, right? And usually you get margin call at 70%, 80%. So you are not even getting to 50%, right? And if Bitcoin maintained a 40% CAGR and you kept your expenses down, if Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin did 21%, right? Let's say Bitcoin doesn't go crazy, it does 21%. Even at that 21% in 10 years, you will be worth $3 million after all your expenses and your debt of 944 has been paid. If you compare that to not borrowing, you're still going to be rich. You're still going to be a millionaire because you invested in Bitcoin, right? But the person who didn't take on any debt is still going to be $1 million less richer than the person who used the debt. Type 21 if you picking up what I'm putting down. This is the cheat code that nobody is going to tap into until 20 years from now. All the gurus that are teaching options, Forex, look at how much I made, blah, blah, blah. They are not going to know this until 2 decades from now. It's going to be too late. Comment waitlist to tap into the waitlist, because this is the type of shit that we are doing. No peasant shit. I made 150 and I made 75. You made it to do what? You made it to do what? You ain't stacking sats. You ain't on a Bitcoin standard. You ain't going to be a millionaire in 20 years. I guarantee you that. Now with the funky ass melting ice cube dollars you saving your money in. If Bitcoin fucks around and does a 50% CAGR, right? Bitcoin fucks around, that's a 50% CAGR. You essentially raise your annual, right? We are talking annually. Annually. Annually means yearly, right? So you wouldn't give a fuck if your boss gave you a raise or not, right? It wouldn't matter if you got a raise or not. You went from making 100 grand to making 1.8 million a year without a raise. Is you crazy? They ain't teaching you this. This, anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. That's not the problem. The problem is, what the fuck do you do with this once you get it? You feel me? And I got the source. I know where to go. I know how to structure it, right? So that you don't get margin call. Because this could end terribly if you don't know what you're doing. If you ain't budgeted, if you don't know your numbers, if you don't have a plan, they say when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you don't know what you're doing and you're like, oh, Blocksetter, I'm going to go here, you will fuck around, right? This only works if you are in charge of your finances, of your bills, if you're not living beyond your means, right? And if you're not living beyond your means, right, you don't have to make $1,300 every day. Okay? You don't have to make $1,300. Right? You don't have to make $779. You don't have to make $380. You don't have to make $610. You don't even have to make $160. Not even $165. Not even $220. Not even $140. I need a small. Yes, you can do this, right? I need a small number, right? You can do this, and there will be plenty enough. Why? Because you are taking this as extra income on top of the income you are making from your JOB, right? And because you're already living within your means, everything that comes in is extra. So this is like working capital. You make 57, you take 25, you stack sats, right? You make 363, you take 150, stack sats, take the rest, use it as working capital. Go extract more dollars from Wall Street. The dollars are dying, the sats are growing. Take the dollars, buy some sats, they're below your means. You become a millionaire. Listen, let me change the numbers, right? Let me change the numbers. Maybe making 9 grand. Maybe making 9 grand a month is too much, right? Somebody give me a peasant number. Somebody give me a peasant number. Somebody with peasant numbers. Somebody who is bringing in less than 9 grand. How much are you bringing in? You tell me your peasant number, and let's see if we can get you rich. Let's see how we can change your life. You tell me your numbers. How much are you bringing in and how much is going out? And if the proportion of what is going out is way bigger than what is coming in, then you fucking up. What is the 4K for? 4K is what? It's 4K. You got to give me, be specific, yo. Don't just tell me 4K. 4K what? Is it 4K your expenses? And what is your income? If you're going to tell me the numbers, just give me the full numbers so we can plug it in and see how we can take you from peasant to a king in a decade, from a peasant to a millionaire. Come on, give me the number, somebody. Don't waste time. It shouldn't take that long. You should know your expenses. Give me your numbers. Expenses, income. How much you bring it in, how much is going out. It ain't that complicated. You want to get rich or no? I see nobody wants to get rich over here. Maybe you guys are already rich. Everybody is a millionaire. You know, according to social media, everybody is a millionaire. So maybe you bring it in 5K, your expenses is 3. Okay, thank you. So you bring it in 5,000, your expenses is 3,000. Right? Are you gonna get a raise? You know, there's just, and I'll say you have 0.25 Bitcoin now, right? I'll say you have 0.25, and we're gonna go with 29% Bitcoin growth, all right? 29% Bitcoin growth, right? So even with your income, which is borderline peasant, right? Look at you. This is assuming you have a buffer of 0.25 Bitcoin, right? So assuming you have a buffer of 0.25 Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a 68K. So let's say you had $17,000 in savings, right? Or 16,900, right? And you bring it in 5K. 5K a month is basically what, 60K? 5K times 12 minus 3,000 times 12, right? So at the end of the year, let's say you have 24K left, right? So if you started, let's say you had 17K in savings, but your savings is in Bitcoin, right? For 10 years, if you took all your 5 grand and bought Bitcoin, borrowed the 5K, the 3K that you needed in 10 years, you will accumulate $500,000 in debt, right? However, your Bitcoin value will be at $3.1 million. So after subtracting your liabilities out of your asset, you will be worth $2.6 million. And your annualized income will go from 60K a year to 260K a year, which means living on a Bitcoin standard has increased your annual income by 200,000 every year for 10 years. If you decided not to go the debt way because you said, I don't like debt, so I have 17K in savings. I'm going to put that savings in Bitcoin. I'm going to continue to work. I'm not taking out any loan. I started with the same 0.25 Bitcoin, right? So this is a Bitcoin maxi. This is also a Bitcoin maxi. There's a Bitcoin maxi that is on steroids, right? So this Bitcoin maxis want to leverage Bitcoin, right? They want to borrow fiat to buy more Bitcoin. This person here is like, I'm okay. I don't like that, right? At the end of 10 years, this person here will be worth approximately $800,000 more. They still gonna be both millionaires. They still, the person here, so let's say this is Bob and this is Jack, right? Bob, they work at the same job, they make the same money, they actually share cubicles, right? They have the same position, they do the same thing, right? But in 10 years, Bob would have increased his annual income by 200K, and Jack will be 142, 82K, right? It's both a come up. Bob took on debt, $500,000, because he lived on a Bitcoin standard. He borrowed money against his income and used all of the other shit to buy Bitcoin and spent dollars. 2.6 million. Even on a 60K, right? Even on a 60K. Let's say Bitcoin only grows 21%. Let's say Bitcoin only grows at 21%. Bitcoin only grows at 21%. You will still be a millionaire. Your Bitcoin value will be worth $2 million. The debt you took on to buy the extra Bitcoin, right, will be worth $500,000 after you pay that with the same income. Your ended net value is $1.5 million in 10 years. You have increased, right? You have increased your income from 60K to 150K without getting a raise from your job. If you didn't take on any debt, you would have increased your income from 60K to 91K. You're still worth close to $1 million, right? But this person here is richer than you. But what if your income went up, right? Because you traded and you made $1,000 more, right? Let's say you made $1,000 more every month. Let's look at the numbers now, right? You're making $1,000 more every month. You see the difference? The $1,000 more every month just trading ended up making you an extra $400,000. What if you can target $2,000 a month, and that $2,000 a month 100% goes into Bitcoin? Because guess what? Your bills are paid, right? You're not trying to get rich from trading. Wait. The hell did I do? I mean, so that was 5, that was 7. So now with your trading income, right, you now bring it in an extra $2,000 a month. So like 24,000. Look, at the end of the 10 years, you go from, this is if Bitcoin is at 21% annual growth. What if you get that $2,000, right? And Bitcoin grows at 30, right? Bitcoin grows at 30% CAGR, but you are adding $2,000 from trading, bro. In 10 years, just making extra $24,000 a year in trading and adding it on a Bitcoin standard, and borrowing just what you need, you'll be worth $4 million. Meanwhile, the people who be trading and showing profits and doing this in 10 years, they wouldn't have $40,000 net in an account. Feel what I'm saying? Anyway, man, that's it. If you are interested in, listen, the wait thing, the enrollment doesn't open until April. So this is just to get you into thinking like a winner, right? Comment, wait list, and tap in, because we can take any peasant to a king in 10 years. No matter how broke you are now, if you get into the right environment, the right mentorship, the right community, it will change your mindset, it will change your pockets. You will go from thinking in fiat to thinking in sats, right? So, any questions before I leave? Any questions before I leave? It's midnight. Comment waitlist, tap in. It doesn't cost you anything for 3 days, right? So for 3 days, you can just navigate the shit and see what's going on. Of course, you're not going to have access to everything. I'm only getting you in the door so you don't waste my time, right? You're only going to have limited access to limited shit, but at least you're inside, right? You're welcome. Alaska and Michelle, tap in. In 5 to 10 years, you a millionaire. Everybody, 5 to 10 years, you a millionaire. You have to get the right conditioning. You know? Would you be better? Absolutely, yes. But I don't know if you're going to do it without having the conviction. See, you can't do it unless you have the conviction. And the conviction comes from understanding. The understanding comes from putting in work, learning. So if you just go throw your money into Bitcoin without understanding Bitcoin, there's no way you're going to let it sit and grow, right? So it's one thing to say, yes, do it. But would you be able to do it? Probably not. Because when the value of Bitcoin in dollars starts to go down, you're going to panic. Why would you panic? Because you don't understand what you're doing. But if you understand it, see, the people who are going 100% on a Bitcoin standard are people who put in time, put in work, put in 10, 20, 30,000 hours, right? If you haven't put in the work, you just can't have the conviction. See what I'm saying? So if you ask me, absolutely yes. But can you do it? You know what I'm saying? All right, y'all. That's my time. I am out. Peace.